Hi guys, so today's video is going to be a updated first aid kit. I haven't done one of these in a couple of years. A lot of the stuff is still the same. There might be a couple of different items or a couple of things I maybe should have listed the first time. Or stuff that I maybe should have gone into a bit more detail about, why you might want it in your first aid kit. So I'm going to try and do the kind of more, or what I feel is the more important things first, and things that I feel that you maybe don't need but they're nice to have, I'll add them more towards the end. So first up, I would say get some scales. I've had these for ages and to be honest they're not very good, they're kind of dying on me, so I really need to update these, but a good set of scales, because you're going to need to be able to weigh your rat, especially if they end up needing medication. You need the weight of the rat for that, so a set of scales, really important. I'd put that as one of the kind of top things you should have in your first aid kit. Another important item to have is an abundance of 1 ml syringes. You can definitely have a selection of different size syringes. 1 ml is pretty much the one that you're going to use when you're dosing your rat with any medication that the vet has given you. I tend to just pick up a bunch of these off of somewhere like eBay, buy like 10 or 20 in a packet. You can ask your vets for extra, they might even just give you extra, or they'll charge you whatever it costs the vets to get them for them. These ones I was actually gifted by a friend, but yeah, definitely you can get them anywhere. Just look online, 1 ml syringes, and you might find you go through quite a lot. So definitely high up there on the list for your first aid kit. The pill crusher. This is my all-time favourite one. So some people will just use a couple of teaspoons, and what you can do is place the pill in between the spoons and you crush them together and it will crush the tablet, which is a perfectly fine way of doing it if you want. I prefer this because this can actually store the powder once you've crushed it as well. So the bottom half, it does have this little bit here, so you could definitely use this to chop a pill in half, for example, and probably manage to quarter it. In terms of dosages for rats, you tend to give them like a 1/6 of a tablet or an 1/8 of a tablet, so I mean that's not as handy for rats, but you can obviously use that bottom part for storing once you've made it into a powder. The top part itself is the bit that does the pill crushing. So you just pop the pill in there and you screw that as tight as possible, and that goes pretty much flush to the little plastic bit in there, so that crushes your pill. If I'm tending to use this, if I'm using any medication that is in a pill form, I end up just leaving it in there, and either I keep a mental note of how much I've already dosed off of said tablet, or if you're forgetful as well, which I tend to be now, I'll just keep a little bit of paper near the meds and I'll note down, how many doses I've given, if I have to give it 6 doses from one tablet or 8 doses, etc. But I definitely prefer this, just because I can keep the powder in here as well as obviously crush the tablets. This I got many years ago, and I believe I just found it on eBay. Certainly search online. eBay, you can find a lot of things. Amazon nowadays, literally anywhere online you should be able to get a hold of some form of pill crusher. Next up, we've got a pair of little tiny nail scissors. I have to say I pretty much just use this when I'm trimming nails for a rat show, but I find it handy just to keep it in my first aid kit, because then I know where it is. I'm basically just not going to lose it. And some people tend to trim nails more regularly, or if you start getting an older rat, or especially a rat that starts getting hind leg degeneration and they can't sort of groom themselves or use their back legs as well, you'll find that their toenails can get quite long, and it's very handy for you to be able to snip the toenails for them. Ivermectin. Definitely something I like to have handy. This is obviously a larger size bottle because I breed, I keep larger numbers of rats. You can just buy the bottle of Ivermectin, which has a little pigeon on the front. If you type that into Google, you'll find links to it again on places like eBay and Amazon, and something that size. I think it's a very small bottle. I think it's just a 5 ml bottle, which sounds like a terribly small amount, but you only need a drop or 2 on the back of the neck, so it'll actually last you ages. So this bottle, if you look back at my first aid kit from 2 years ago, it's the same bottle. It's the same bottle, and that's me had litters of rats as well. Like I treat baby rats before they leave me. I'll periodically just treat mine as well, or if there's been an outbreak, if there's been some I've seen at a show, I might just go and dose like all of mine just to have it done, because it's like it's a little reminder that I've maybe not done it in a while and I maybe should. So yes, Ivermectin is the little one with the pigeon on the front that you can get hold of, but it does the same thing, so you're treating mites and lice. So we talked about medication, but I just thought it was handy to include what I use to actually give said medication. So the good old Goo Pots that I know all of you out there, you're going to have at least 10 of these. Everybody keeps these for no apparent good reason. We keep them and we hoard them. So I use these for dosing the rat medicine. I actually tend to use the bottom of it because I find it's easier to mix it up on the bottom than it is to do it deep in. I use a knife. So yeah, I find it much easier to do it in the back of this little glass container. And in terms of what I give them, I like to just buy the cheap chocolate spread. This is the Aldi one. You could buy any that you wanted. Some people swear by the Biscoff spread, like that's the one to buy. I just use whatever supermarket I happen to be at. I use a cheap chocolate spread. Does the deal for me. And I say I just use the back of one of these glass dishes, and that is how I do it. Some people will keep a little stock of baby food, you know, like the pouched baby food. You could also mix it with that. There's many different options out there, just whatever works for you and your rats. I just tend to find that chocolate works pretty much 99% of the time. Pee strips. These are literally ones that you can buy for humans. I just typed it into Google, I found an Amazon link and ended up buying them off of Amazon. So these will last forever. Like there's I think 100 or something in these. It's a ridiculous amount, yeah, 100 in these. So many of them. And basically it's for testing urine. So if you suspect that you might have a urine infection going on in a rat, or if they're a bit under the weather, it sometimes just helps to test their urine. There's loads of things on the back that it lets you test for. The main ones that I look for are blood and protein levels, so very handy to have. They're not that expensive to buy either, and a good thing to have in your kit. Hibby scrub. This is literally just for cleaning, so if you've got like light wounds that you want to just make sure they're clean, you dilute this with water and that's it ready to use. You can get it in numerous places, you know, sort of your vets will even be able to supply it, because I ended up getting it one time for, I believe it was for my dog. I got a little bit put into a wee container and given to me and stuff like that. So it's easy access to get this Hibby scrub. Handy to have if you're trying to, you know, clean out flush some wounds. I've got a rat just now with an open wound in his leg, and I've actually been using this, just diluting it down and using it to clean out his wound. And yep, another thing that I think is quite a good staple to have in your kit. The cohesive bandage, which again, if you watched my video from 2 years ago when I last did this, it is the same one. I have not needed to use it, which I'm very pleased about. But again, it's one of these that it's really cheap to buy. Pretty much any shop, like Home Bargains, B&M's, any supermarket. I mean, supermarkets will be a bit more expensive. If you try like Home Bargains and B&M's, that'll probably be the most cheapest place to find it. It'll be available in pharmacies again, you know, loads of places will sell this. So this is the cohesive bandage, which is basically a bandage that adheres to itself as you wrap it around the wound. I only have this in case of emergencies. If you have a rat that's had an operation and say they start bothering their stitches and they're at risk of like starting to rip all their stitches out, you can sausage of shame them, and they look quite pathetic when it gets done. I will say I have never personally had to do it. I hope I never personally have to do it because it's a little shame, but at the end of the day you do not want them taking their stitches out. So the cohesive bandage is definitely handy to have in the kit. I do believe that if your rat's on adequate pain medication, you shouldn't need this, but every once in a blue moon you might have that one rat that is just like, I'm taking those stitches out. In which case you're better off sausage wrapping them than dealing with the price of having to do another stitch up job at the vet's. The trusty Cornflower. I literally have this for if I need to stop some bleeding on a lost toenail. Any rat owner tends to find it pretty quickly that if a rat rips out a toenail, or even just like half rips out a toenail, the amount of blood that is around the cage is absolutely ridiculous. So I literally just use this to kind of staunch the blood flow and help the clotting. You can buy styptic powder, I think there's one called Trimex powder. It does the same thing, it's literally a powder to help blood clot and stop the bleeding. I actually don't think I've really ever had to use this again, but it's one of those things that I keep in my kit because it's there and it's very handy to have. This is a new addition to this video, the BioLapis. Now in the last first aid video I did have a different probiotic, so this is just a probiotic for rabbits. You can, I got this one off of eBay. There's Vets UK, I believe is the name of the website of another place that does it. You can also shop on Rat Warehouse and get the different probiotic, which is the one that I originally had. It does the same thing. I will say I've only ever had to use this with one rat who ended up with an issue with very, very soft stools all the time, and this just tries to sort of settle the stomach, get some nutrients back in if you're dealing with a rat that has like an upset stomach like that. So not high up on my list, but it's got a good like use by date on it. It's not that expensive to buy, and I feel that it's just worth having in the kit just to be there on the safe side, so I've got it. But it's definitely not something that I'd say is like totally high up the list, like that you should have it in your first aid kit. Intrasite gel. I actually only got this when I was dealing with Teddy, who, that's another story, he's in another video all to himself with the medical conditions that he had. But he had lots of basically rips and tears on his body quite often, and this is just a gel to help aid the healing. So I bought these, they came in like a pack of 5, so this one is a nice brand new one. And it's again just good for wound healing. Would I rate it like high up your list that you need to have it? No, I wouldn't say it's a desperate to have in your kit, but I still have this now, let's say, because I had to buy it as a pack of 5. So it's still here, and I will probably need to use it at some point in the future, and I've got it, so it's here. The trusty Snuggle Safe heat pad. I will say that I've never actually really had to use this much in terms of having a sick rat, because I find that if I've got a sick rat, they'll be still in their main cage, so they're getting the body warmth from all of their cage mates. I mostly use this for putting kittens on when they're hairless and before they can regulate their body temperature. But it's certainly something that's worth having in your kit. You can get them again anywhere online, just type in pet safe heat pad. They pop in the microwave for about 5 minutes and that's it, literally ready to use. So I mean, having this, it's just nice to have it, that if I ever did need it out with the kittens that I use it for, it's great to have in the kit. So the last sort of things that I have are, like I have lots of other like leftover kind of medication in my kits. And when I say leftover, I don't mean that I've, forgot to, underdose my rat or didn't use the full dosage. It's just I always get a little bit extra given when I have had rats prescribed medication. So the rest of my kit is just things that I keep from that. But obviously it's not stuff I'm going to show because all of that medication has at some point been has been prescribed by the vet. So it's not something that every single person will have. I do think it's handy if you can though to keep some painkiller. So this is a dog Loxicom. My dog is actually on medication, so this is like the remnants of one of the bottles that he had left. It's not a big enough dose to give to him because he's a large lad. Which actually I think, yeah, you literally can see him sleeping in the background. So yes, this isn't enough to dose him what's left in that bottle. So I like to keep a painkiller handy, especially for emergencies over the weekend if I need to try and keep a rat comfortable until I can actually get veterinary care for them. You can actually give, I want to say, there's one type of Calpol that you can actually dose to rats like an emergency for painkiller, but I've never used it, so I wouldn't like to talk about that and tell you the wrong thing, but there is another kind of painkiller you can use for them. But that's the things that I keep on hand in my first aid kit. Some people will have slightly more, some people might have slightly less. you know, if you're going for like from the basics to all the way up to I have everything for every scenario, like there's so many different things that you can keep. So I hope you found that helpful, that this is what I keep, just sort of share, chat you through some of the things. And yeah, we'll see you in whatever next video ends up being.